Good evening, and welcome back to, again, not another edition of Splattercast. No, we're back here talking about Prey. This time, though, we are taking the chains off. We are going full spoilers, everything exposed. So if you have not seen the movie, this is not the review for you, but we do have a spoiler-free review up on the channel right now you can check out without giving anything major away. So that way you can at least know what we're thinking, how we're feeling about the movie without getting any of the big moments spoiled for you. But if you have seen the film and you just are looking for our deeper, more, I guess, nuanced thoughts on the film,
We're
this is the review
unpacking
for you.
a little bit here.
Yes, we are skinning the corpse and taking the bones out, as any good predator would do at this moment in time.
I want to be like Tony Pope in Predator 2, where I'm exposing everything. We're really it's hardcore out here in the streets.
Absolutely. So yes, Prey. Obviously, if you saw our spoiler-free review, but if you did not, we're pretty big fans of it. I'd
It's
say overall, I enjoyed the movie quite a bit. I have not we haven't had a good Predator movie in so long. I like Predators. I love Predator 2. But yeah, I mean, like, other than that, like, The Predator was a huge disappointment. I'm not big on the AVP movies, so it's
yeah.
just kind of like it's been a while. But this one really hit for me. And Luke, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I'm with you where it's like, huge fan of the original. Then it's like after that, like, I like everything to a certain extent, with the exception of The Predator. But it's like all those films, I found myself having to almost defend or explain in depth as to why I enjoy certain aspects of them. Whereas, like Prey, coming out of this one, I'm just like, hey, I like Prey. I think it's a great film, and there's so much. Just it's like, yes, yep, it is a good film. You know what I mean? So it's like this
Hmm.
is really the first time we've had that of not having to overly explain your why you like a Predator movie, because I think this universally it seems like, at least coming out now, um, that yes, Prey is a good film. So it's like, yes, this is really the first time we're dealing with this.
Yeah, I mean, depending on when you're watching this, we're posting this on Saturday, just after the movie came out, but we were recording this Friday evening. So, we got our spoiler free review out this morning. And so it's been a kind of a trip to just watch as the day has ticked on. A lot of people on Twitter finally getting to expose this. Like, you know, this was something where, a few hardcore fans I saw were also up at 3 a.m. to watch this with us. But then, like, a lot of people were waiting till after work or,
Yep,
after dinner to check this thing out.
Friday
So
night movie night.
yeah, so it's like, we're recording this at about 11 o'clock. So it's kind of just been like the last 3 or 4 hours here. You've really started to see an uptick in the positivity because, it's just like now people are finally getting around to watching it. And it's been awesome. Like, it's just, again, I agree with you that, like, it is great to see such positivity, and just like it is nice to have a good Predator movie that you don't have to sit there and be like, well, I know it's not everybody's favorite, but, like, I like it because of this. And then you don't have to really worry about it. Like, you're gonna
What
have your people, your detractors, of course, but it really seems like a solid majority seems to love this movie.
this is like where liking a Predator movie is not a hot take right now. It's
Yeah.
like this is
Mhm.
okay. Universally, Prey is we're on board, we're ready. This recalibrated, seemingly recalibrated the franchise to kind of see a direction that actually works in terms of future films. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, let's talk about a couple of those things that really, I think, set this film apart and make this thing work in a sense that we've gotten from other things. One thing I want to touch on that you brought up in our spoiler-free review, and it may have just been pure exhaustion, just on my part, but you had mentioned that there was a concept, or at least a thing that was used in The Predator, which a film we don't like. Um, that they use in here, and you say it works better for you. And I think you're talking about when the predator lifts the bear over him and the blood spills on him.
That is
Uh
exactly what I'm talking about.
yes, I
And
thought that that was very effective, but I was honestly, cuz when I saw that, I was surprised that they used that.
yeah,
Because it was in the Predator, and that movie was so poorly received. But again, not every concept in the Predator is bad, and this just goes to show you just have to put it in competent hands and put the right dressing around it, and it works.
Because, to be honest, that scene in The Predator, it works to an extent because I feel like it is pretty scary, where it's like, oh, when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's pretty clever." It's like having him land and then the blood drip on him and his eyes open. I'm
Something
like,
we hadn't seen up to that point.
yeah, and I thought it was very intriguing. Now, do I think Prey does it a million times better? Absolutely. With just the concept wise, him lifting the bear over his head, the blood dripping all over, the mandibles going all crazy. It's like it works. It's like some Trachtenberg took that idea and made it that much better. It's like so.
Mhm.
As soon as I saw
Elevated the
that,
material.
yes, and it's like, yeah, I'm surprised like you that they reused it, but he brought even more gravitas to it, I feel.
Yeah, and, if we're gonna kinda stick in that realm with that, I wanna talk about I like the structure we kinda used with the Predator as far as his opponents throughout the film.
Yeah.
Everything from, he first touches ground. I think the first thing that he runs into that we see is a rattlesnake. And
Yep.
I know you were kinda that was, like, your one real gripe with the movie was, some of the animal CG.
Yep.
For me, I've seen it again. I've seen it twice now, and it doesn't really bother me that much. I don't know if it's just like because I'm watching this on my big TV upstairs, so like this is one of those things where it's like I got my nice 4K, real calibrated. I actually give a shit about that one, so it's like for me, I think all the colors and everything work. It sold me pretty right. I think this rattlesnake is definitely the most wonky CG looking. But I'm getting off topic. The point I was making was I like the progression we get where we see him, he fights, well, not fights, but he kills the rattlesnake. And then he moves his way up to the wolf and then the bear and then to the humans. So it's like I really enjoy that. I think that that's a nice slow progression because what's the predator's goal when he comes to a new planet is to find out who the biggest dog on the playing field is. Who
Yeah.
do I have to conquer? Who do I have to kill to show that I am, a true hunter and a true alpha? That's the predator's main goal and mission. So it's like, just watching him kind of work his way up the food chain here, I thought was a really unique and cool concept because we haven't seen that. Because normally in a predator movie, they're going straight for the humans. I think in Predators, they imply, and I guess you see to a little bit of them fighting other alien creatures, but even then it's not to this extent. And I thought
Yeah.
that that was a really cool visual storytelling that they did there.
Yeah. Because you can tell, I think he lands, it's around the 11-minute mark where he's actually dropped off onto the planet. So we're kind of right before that, kind of just getting into the landscapes, and that we're gonna jump all over the place here, and I don't want to get too much harping on how not great the Predator is, but one of the things that I that really caught my eye here is how Dan Trachtenberg really opened up with a lot of different landscapes here, really giving us the feel. Whereas in the Predator, we're kind of we're given this really spaceship chase scene that doesn't feel like a Predator movie in any sense, and it really took me out. But this one really opening up that landscape, us kind of going through the day to day of the Comanche and Nauru and all this stuff, I thought really set up what we get later. And then obviously once the predator gets there and he's kind of almost making this trek through this landscape and finding different opponents, different game to add to his trophy list. And one of the things that I do like that I'm assuming that it can be attributed to Dan Trachtenberg's storytelling is that I love this when the predator takes on this wolf. The wolf is uh, chasing down one of the rabbits, and then
Mhm.
so he disposes of the wolf, in pretty quick fashion. And then we cut straight to Naru trying to capture one of the rabbits, and it's like
Yep.
you kind of get that whole. We just the predator of the rabbit just got taken down by the actual predator itself, and now Naru's struggling to get the lowest on the totem pole in terms of being the prey. So it's like I love that they kind of make these kind of comparisons that if you're not really paying attention as an audience member, you don't really catch it, but you know that you've seen it. And it really adds to that kind of that matchup that we're going to see later on down the way. And how unmatched the Predator versus Naru can be.
Yeah, and I think like another moment that I can call out on both this and the bear scene, I mean the wolf and the bear scene, I like that they allow them to fight and it's not
Yes,
just so cut and dry because I feel like, with having a foe or, an opponent like the predator who's just so imposing, so technologically advanced, you kind of expect, and I guess like we've kind of been treated this way with the AVP films and stuff, that he would just execute those
both of them.
both of them real quick. I
Yep,
really enjoy that they took the creative choice to actually have him fight
yep,
these animals, and like you could really see the sport in it. You can see that like for I believe with both of them he attempts to go almost hand to hand, using his claws and just his natural abilities against both the wolf and the bear. And it's not until he's injured that he ends up resorting to gauntlet blades or another tool in his arsenal, which I don't even think he uses another tool until he starts facing humans, because
yes,
he only
yep,
uses the gauntlet blades against the wolf. Which another touch that I thought was really unique and interesting and just shows another great attention to detail is just and it shows the ferocity in these animals and just how they were, is just that the wolf gets sliced, and it has maybe another 5 to 10 seconds where it's like getting ready to charge him again before its whole like organs and guts fall out, and it's just kind of
yeah,
realizes, you can tell really when the animal realizes, oh, I'm fucking dead.
yep,
And I really appreciate stuff like that. I think that again it does this great visual storytelling, which I'd say is it for me maybe the biggest highlight I got to give Dan Trachtenberg, is that as just a filmmaker, you see it a lot in 10 Cloverfield Lane as well. The man really understands the visual medium that he's playing with when it comes to film, and he uses that to the full extent.
you
Because
know,
you could have had this whole movie be nearly dialogueless, and it
yeah.
would still play perfectly.
And that's where it's like he uses the audio as well. Because
Hmm.
just picking it up here, going back to that bear scene, I absolutely love it. It's like how you're saying how he disposes of the foes pretty quickly because we're working our way up and we want to see how unmatched he really is. I love this kind of dirty fight between him and the bear where it's like they're going back and forth. He's getting taken down, and I did have an oh shit moment because it's like I love that he stays cloaked for a lot of it.
Oh yeah,
And
for
then
most of the film.
yeah, and then when he's fighting this bear and you're kind of going into it, your preconceived notion is, oh, he'll dispose of him pretty quickly, especially if you see the trailer. I had the oh shit moment when he's taken down and then the bear comes up and you see the
The
green,
blood,
yeah,
yeah,
and
dude, I
I'm like,
love
oh
that.
shit, he's bleeding, and it's like so it's like in that type of thing. I'll say Dan Trachtenberg. We see a little bit of the green in the original Predator, but it's like I don't think the significance was that has been there in a film since until this one here, where it's like seeing him taking on the Comanche, where he gets stabbed in the foot with a spear, and then the spurt of the green. It's like, oh shit, he's bleeding there, all this stuff, and then the clicking of him where he's cloaked and you don't hear him, but everyone just hears the clicking of the Predator, so he's close, and it's like. I know when we had pitched our ideas ages ago on buy admission only, that was like one of the things that was stuck in my head was like the audio of the Predator, and that clicking is like something that really needs to be taken advantage of. And I think Trachtenberg took the fullest extent the audio of the Predator because it works so perfect where you don't see him and then you just hear him coming through the expansive landscape.
No, I 100% agree. I think the audio is a huge plus here. I want to discuss a little bit about our human characters just a bit too, because I know we're going to probably talk a little bit more about the Predator, especially getting into some of the bigger action human fights. But before we get into that, I want to highlight Amber Midthunder. We said in our spoiler review, fantastic. She carries this film on her shoulders for sure. Watching it again, you can really see how well she sells this character, and just how like really you could tell she was in touch with her character. She really knew exactly how she wanted things to go, how she wanted to portray herself, how she wanted to carry herself. And I really appreciate, and I got to give it highlights in here again, of just how they decided to tell this story, because you could really easily go, and I know this term gets thrown around a lot, for like the Mary Sue angle of just her being like, either completely perfect, completely, just like, oh, I'm, I want to be a warrior. I'm unmatched. She's just like always keeping up with it, but not getting the respect she deserves. But no, they decide to really handle her in a realistic sense. And, um, I think one of the biggest highlights, because my wife is not a Predator fan, like it's not that she just doesn't have much experience with the franchise, but the fact that this movie intrigued her and she sat down and watched it, and by the end of it, literally said, like, this was one of the best female characters I've seen in a movie like in a long time, really goes to show you just how wonderful not only her performance was, but the writing of this character, and
Yeah.
how, they are able to show the growth of a character and how she's got flaws. She's not perfect. She doesn't have to be perfect, but at the same time, she can hold her own. And I think that goes through again with the performance, the writing. You got to give all these people pats on the back. And I think, the dynamic between her and her brother is another bright spot, because you can really see the love from her older brother and everything, and how much he cares for her. He wants her to chase her dreams and get what she wants, to be a hunter, but at the same time he understands what she's got to overcome, and maybe he doesn't agree with it, because he's definitely more open to it than a lot of the other tribesmen. But like, it's just one of those things where it's awesome to see that support, and it's awesome to just kind of see how he's written, in the sense of just like, I'm going to let you do your thing, but I'm also going to be honest with you and tell you when things don't work out and why they didn't work out. And it's like, I think that was just really expertly played, and I think both actors really do a wonderful job in this film.
And I know we just covered a lot of ground right there, but going back to Naru, I think her character's handled so well. Like, hey, you're talking about there are missteps there where she's not the perfect hunter or not the perfect person in general. Where it's when we see her and she's with her dog and she's hunting, I believe it's a buck, and they're out in the woods, and she gives chase to it, and she's running through the woods trying to keep up with this buck, and she does this little move where she jumps from one tree off with, I believe she has a hatchet, and she anticipates on hitting this buck, but the buck moves right out of the way and she just misses it. And I think that's such a tell for that character, where it's like she's almost there and she's just missing it. You know what I mean? Same thing with the bear, where she has the bear in her sights and her bow breaks. It's like all these little things where she's just missing that little bit. And it's like, I think that makes a great character because it makes it feel real. And also that is also tied into all the other characters, where it's like, this doesn't become, a female thing. This is like a hunter thing, where it's like, going into the last scene with the predator, we all kind of get this, like, we're all perfect until we're not, and it ends up being vital to, how you either live or you die. And so I think that kind of ties into all the different characters in here, where it's like, this is very much a hunter culture, and it's like, you're great until you're not. It's like you see that with a lot of the other Comanches, in terms of when I don't know his name, but when he goes out and he kind of gets a little bold when he goes to pick up the possum, and then he gets the three
Yeah.
arrows. It's like he's kind of a little bit too bold, and that happens also with the predator later on in the film. So I think that's kind of a great storytelling aspect throughout all these different characters. And then going into the Naru Tabe brother sister relationship, I think is so well done here. It adds so much, especially when you first see it at the beginning, where you think maybe Tabe's not really going to care too much about Naru at all, because he's like war chief and all this other stuff. But then,
It would be
as
too easy. It would
yeah,
be the trope,
yep,
if you were to go that route.
and they really go against the grain, because it's like when the one Comanche is out. They said I think he'd been hunting a big cat, and they
Yep.
think he's out, and they have to go retrieve him, and they find him with, Naru wants to go, and um, they don't, the other Comanche don't want her to be there, and they want her to go home, and then her brother says, "No, she's really good at tracking. Like maybe she should stay." And then he turns to her and says, "You have to find that big cat." She goes, "Oh, I will." And he says, "I know you will because you have to, because he just vouched for her, but he knows she's good." So he wants her out there. He knows what she aspires to be, and he supports it. So it's like
He's
there's
gonna
that kind of,
play up her strengths, yeah,
yeah,
but at the same time, he understands that, I guess it's not necessarily his neck on the line because he does seem to be the most competent hunter in the tribe, but it's just one of those things where it's like, it is one of those unfortunate aspects of just how things like that worked back then,
yeah.
especially for women. You had to, if he's taking a stand, he still has a bit of an ego, a bit of a chip, so he's not perfect. And it's like nobody is in this movie, and I think that really deduces them to feeling like real characters and feeling like just they genuinely are just people you enjoy watching. And it hurts when people die and things like that. And like Tabe, when he gets his final comeuppance, and you talk about the sound when you hear the clicking of the predator behind him, and
Yes.
and he knows, and he's just like, this is the end of my journey here. Like, he
Yep.
just knows I'm fucked. So it's like,
And
that's it, and it's so perfectly done.
it's like such phenomenal acting on his end, where
Hmm.
they're out there, and they best the predator for like 1 second, and Naru's like, "Oh, we got to get out of here," and he knows, and he's like, "No." He knows I'm a threat. He goes, "This is the end for me." And he tells her, "Bring it home," and then the predator appears behind him and takes him out. And it's like, oh, what a perfect moment. That made, um, it's like those scenes in films where you get chills, and that scene, that look, that bring it home that he has with Naru right before he gets those wrist gauntlet blades right through his back into his chest. I mean, perfect moment right there, and then at that other moment, right as he's going to come for Naru, he jams the, I don't know exactly what he has, but he jams it right into the predator's thigh and gets his attention for that split second so Naru can get away. It's like
Hmm.
that really last sacrifice right there really, really defines the relationship between Naru and Tabe. So it's just like uh, that relationship was so well done. It adds so much to that storytelling aspect. Again, when there's dialogue, but there's not expansive dialogue when you're looking at something like a Predators or a Predator 2, where there is a lot of talking. Yeah, Prey doesn't have a lot of that, and I think it really works here because we're really focusing on what's going on in their lives, their movements, the things that they're dealing with. Where it is a battle of survival. We're not at a bar sharing drinks talking about what Gary Busey's doing. We're not doing that stuff here. We're really surviving in a landscape. So this one, they just brought such a unique feel to Prey.
Yeah, and to kind of move us along here, I want to discuss a couple of my favorite sequences. I would say my favorite sequences involving the Predator. I think when going into this movie, I thought maybe the bear scene would be one of the best. It's a great scene, it is, and it's intense and it's cool. But I have to talk about both the sequences with Naru's tribes, the hunting party,
Yes.
when they're trying to take her back. That fight sequence is so good. Just like when he starts taking him out, like you said, the guy gets a little bit bold and goes grabs the possum, and you get to really see those like the I guess they call them like bolts, or those like arrows. I guess they're
Yeah.
kind of, you really see those for the first time enacted clearly. And then you get to see the compy stick that can be split in half, where
Yep.
one's like a club and the other is a spear, and it's just like so creative and cool. And I think you see is this where you see the shield for a brief second, or is that I think that's with the Frenchman.
I think that's with the French trappers, I believe.
Okay, yeah, yeah, because that's That's got to be my new favorite edition. Watching this again, just kind of jumping because that's my next sequence too. So I'll kind of talk about them in tandem together. Is that sequence with trappers where you're in that foggy kind of foresty area and he's hopping from tree to tree. You see it a little bit in the trailer, but oh my god, dude, when he takes that shield and cuts that guy's head off and it goes through the tree, like, oh, what a creative and cool kill. And that's why I think that shield is just one of the best additions to the Predator's arsenal, in my opinion. I think like you're always going to have your classics. I mean, we don't see a disc in this movie.
No.
This almost replaces it in a
That's what I
sense.
feel like maybe will become the disc, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Detachable from the actual wrist itself is and we're gonna throw and it's gonna come back. I feel like this is the progression here where we start with the, shield and then it moves to the smart disc.
Yeah, and then you see, I do love I always love when the net returns. And
Yes.
it is in this. I didn't think we'd get it, but it makes sense that that would have been a more primitive weapon for them that they've kind of developed over all this time. I thought that that was a really cool, unique way of doing it, and just kind of seeing the guy like getting consumed, and then they kind of pan down, and you just see the pieces as he's
Yeah.
just kind of getting sliced into a bunch. Like, just really great, brutal. I think the best word I can use is savage predator kills in this film. And both these sequences, I think, highlight that immensely.
Yeah, and, going into that first scene where, the Predator's taking on the Comanche warriors. Going into that, where I was talking about this boldness, where you do see it again, where Naru is getting the best of the one Comanche when they want to take her back, and I mean she's doing well, and then like eventually, I think she almost gets the boldness where she rushes him, and then he's able to take her over real quick, where she ends up having to bite him, and I was like, I thought that was intriguing because for that split second, you see that boldness in Naru, and it kind of leads to her downfall for just a slight second, and then going into when when the predator shoots his little arrows, I guess, into the one Comanche, and he's pretty bold where he just this I love when they're waiting to see him, and we don't see him, and then his arrows just start getting ripped out, and he's like right there. I'm like, that's pretty bold of him, and then of course that leads to an arrow shot for him. But
Hmm.
it's like one of the things I do like a lot is that the when the cloaking device takes a hit, it kind of it shows the red, and it's like I really enjoyed that visual aspect of it. That fight scene between him and the Comanches, I think, is great as well. Again, I had a holy shit moment when he got the spear to the foot, when it just starts bleeding green. Because again, I think that's a great visual. And then one of the ones I wanted to ask, I wasn't sure if I was missing it or not. When the Naru and Tabe are hooked up to the trees, and is that Ash that is going?
I think so. It because like there's not a lot of foliage in the area
Yeah.
at all, so I think that they might be burning the forest in some capacity. It would make sense.
Okay, I wasn't sure if
Um,
you read that as well, because I was like, I'm assuming that's Ash, but then I was trying to look and see if there was anyone saying anything if it's specifically Ash or why there is Ash there, and I couldn't find anything. So I don't know if there's just not that wasn't opened up. I was like, I don't think they're near like a volcano or something random. I was like, I don't know why there was Ash. I mean, I love the visual
no,
aspect of it, but I didn't sure if I missed something there.
it might just be because even in the trapper camp, you can kind of see the musty ashiness kind of throughout
Yeah,
the camp because there's a lot of people there.
yeah,
So it's just one of those things where it's just kind of like when you see that, it's probably it could be a visual metaphor for them just the destruction they leave in their
yeah,
wake.
yeah. That's why I wasn't sure if they were
Because
like burning villages or something random, and it was just like,
yeah, I also I love the touch. I know I'm jumping back here of the trappers being the ones to kill and skin the buffalo, and it's
yeah.
not the predator because it's totally the predator's MO. But when I kind of picked up on that before they even pick up the cigar, because I'm just like, why didn't he take any of the skulls?
Yeah.
why didn't he take a trophy? Like it's like he's not taking fur. Like they don't normally take furs. They're more into the skulls and stuff. So it just didn't make any sense, or at least the horns. So it's like I really enjoy that aspect to it. And it's just like it's a really unique and kind of great take to have, in the sense of just showing that, like, it, even though it's a monster, and even though that it's like, it's kind of killing indiscriminately, it's still not nearly as savage and vile as humans can be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, because I mean, it just shows that, they just have no, they waste them. You know what I mean? Like, there's no
yeah.
morality there. They took the furs and they left all the carcass, the meat, everything. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just so destructive.
And that's where it's like, and I don't know exactly what was said. I haven't gone back to translate and look, but in the camp when Naru gets captured, and the one of the trappers, she says something I can't remember, that gets to the one trapper and he wants to shoot her, and the one guy says stop, and he says something uh to the effect of, I can only assume what they will, instead of killing her, what they will do to Naru, and they kind of both chuckle. And Raphael Adelini kind of looks at him like, you know what I mean? But it's like, that type of thing where it's like you can see what human beings are capable of, where it's like with the predator, he's only worried about,
The
it's
hunt.
a code of honor, it's a hunt, it's trophy collecting, this is what we do, whereas like with a human being, they kind of show that kind of disgustingness that they are capable of, even though you're dealing
There
with
is
a
no
monster.
honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no honor amongst them, especially the trappers, because
Yep.
they're an invasive species. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, in the grand scheme of things, because you even see it with the tribes, and just the Comanches, of just the respect they have for the land and how they treat it and everything. It's just like you can see that code of honor translate. They have different ethics, but the code still reigns
I mean,
same
yeah.
in a sense. And I guess you bring up Adelini. That's something that I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't discuss a little bit, considering we talked about it in our Predator 2 podcast. So they kind of reworked the Dark Horse comic,
Yep.
making that official canon in the films. Now I see some people, like, I still think it's relatively positive. But I know there have been a couple people who are just kind of like, oh, it kind of sucks that they're, we can't really consider the initial story as canon, because the initial story is really cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that it's a little problematic, because if I correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the first initial, like, kind of team up between a human and a predator that was kind of brought to the forefront.
I believe so.
So, and then that's kind of been an issue going forward with the AVP films, and, the Predator, that a lot of people don't seem to like, is when the Predator kind of takes sides with the human.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense in AVP, but, like, in the Predator, the movie's so problematic, but you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
like it just didn't work for me there. But, it's, and I mean, even in Predators, like, it's a little bit like, okay, yeah, enemy of my enemy is my friend, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
the point that I'm making here is that they bring Adelini's pistol from Predator 2 into this. We see it clear as day at the end. I think it's a real nice nod to it. It does open the door. We discussed a little bit before of, okay, so how does this get into the possession of the Elder Predator? Then what happens next? You said, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I believe you were saying that you kind of just want to leave it as is, and just leave it up to the imagination, and just
Yeah.
assume that at some point go down, because you don't want to really see a
I don't need to.
continuation of Naru's story. You're happy with what we have.
Yeah, and we'll just assume down the line that the Comanches had another run-in with a predator, and best one of them got bested, and they ended up having the gun.
Which
And that,
they do hint towards in the credits. Because, like I was saying, with the cave paintings and the credits at the very end, you see those three ships come in. So more
Yeah.
predators do show up theoretically.
Yeah. So, and that thing is, I don't know how that really works in terms of the predator culture. Would three more predators show up in the same exact area we just dropped one off?
I think to retrieve the body.
Oh, okay. And that's it. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so not necessarily to hunt, but to just pick
Because
up.
they always seem to, because in AVP they retrieve the corpse, and in Predator 2 they retrieve the body. Granted, it's on the ship, but it's
Yeah.
one of those things where they do take it, and they they have their ceremony and everything with it. So it's like I think that's what they're there for.
Well,
um
in um now in Predator, the original, did his ship was there, wasn't it? Or no? I couldn't remember. No, no, he was. No, his ship was
mm-mm,
not there, right? I was trying
no,
to think. Was he released in a pod though? Is that what it was at the
I
beginning of that?
believe he was released in a pod, and I like to think that it's obviously when they made the movie, I don't think the retrieving of the corpse was really in the mind of the filmmakers and the writers, because
Oh,
obviously he does the explosion
yeah.
at the
I was
end.
just going to bring up the fact that now this one he's released
Via
just on the
ship.
ground.
Yep,
Yeah,
they just
he's
drop them off.
yeah. So it's like they're picking him up from school. And so it's like so it's like, "Hey, we'll be back here in a couple of days for you." So I thought that was just interesting because I guess for me, because I was thinking more so from a progression standpoint, because I'd like to watching this and my second viewing and probably going forward, I would kind of want to see the progressions there in terms of like technique and how what works and what doesn't, instead of, hey, instead of us dropping you off, we're just gonna shoot you down in a pod and then you can figure it out yourself. You know what I mean? Where it's like I thought that was an interesting. Okay, I felt like probably from Dan Trachtenberg's standpoint, it's like, oh, let's do a little variation here of where they actually come down and they're going to deliver him instead of having to shoot him off from the ship.
Yeah, I think there's like 370 something years in between this and the last one. So you're right. They probably could assess some things and change their mind on how they deliver their teammates and comrades and things. But yeah, I think that, the addition of the pistol is nice. If they decide to go forward, which I think with the positive reception of this, even though it sucks that this thing isn't in theaters, because I feel like it'd be cleaning up at the box office right now, because
Yeah,
there's not a lot of competition right now. I think like the hype for Top Gun and Jurassic World and all that has kind of died down, and
yeah,
we have a couple of light weeks here. And just the hype behind this movie has been so real the last few days, even with people who, you know, aren't normally into this kind of stuff are getting into it. So it's just kind of like, I think this would have cleaned up at the box office.
yeah,
And I think that the confidence should be there for Disney. I think if the streaming numbers are high enough, I don't know how any of that works with streaming. But like if it's there, I think we'll get more. But it is kind of one of those things where it's like, do we see a continuation of Naru's story, or do we and see what happens with the pistol, or was this just a nice nod? And I agree with you. I think personally, I think this is just a nice nod. I would really like it to just be that way. Leave it up to the imagination, and let's keep going. Let's see a different story. Let's see a different predator. Let's see how they operate. Let's keep that going.
yeah,
I don't think we need to interconnect these as much as they were trying to for so long. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I think that the Predator seems to work better. If the first film and this film show us anything, the Predator does work better in an enclosed story, where it is just kind of like, we have our scenario, we have a predator, we have our people, this is the time setting, this is what's going on, and this is how they're going to handle it.
yeah,
And I mean, when you're talking 300 years between this and the first film, you've got a lot of time to play with. And
yeah,
I mean, God forbid you go back even further. And I'm gonna do you one even better, because like I think the only thing to come out of Requiem that anybody really enjoyed and wants to see more of is, why don't we just see a movie where we just straight follow predators?
Yeah.
and they're maybe on a different planet dealing with different species. You know what I mean? Because like I think that they emote enough, and I think that we could do it. And I think that if you're gonna do this, and keep this going on streaming, why not take the risk? Why not do it?
Yeah, I mean, in that sense, you can pretty much do anything. Because I would love to see, you know, either on the home world or whatever, and doing a um, either own language or hardly any at all. Because I don't know how much in terms of speaking they would do, but it's like even subtitled, I think would be interesting.
Oh yeah, easily
Um,
you could do subtitle. Let's see. I want to see what Predators on the homeworld do.
yeah,
Like, do Predators just work like a 9 to 5? You know what I
that's
mean? Like, do
let's
they
do
just
a
have office jobs?
So this is what Hulu should invest in. Let's do 12 episodes. It's like I Love Lucy, but it's with predators.
There you go.
Black and white and everything.
Just like that, just like WandaVision, where they kind of harken back and do it.
Yep.
I like it.
That's the
We're
natural
definitely going
progression here.
something.
That's what you do after Prey. Doesn't matter
Mhm.
anymore. No killing. It's just uh uh the one of the predators is working at a factory.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think if we want to kind of start wrapping this spoiler review up, um, if we even just called it here, I'd be pretty happy. I think that this is a great film, and I think that thinking of the future, we know how Hollywood works. We know we're going to get more Predator movies after this. But I mean, especially if we can get another one after the abysmal performance and just what we got with the Predator, I think the sky's the limit with these movies. We're going to keep getting them. But I'm very happy with this, and I'm just happy that this movie exists and that people are enjoying it. And again, I think you said it best in the opening of our spoiler free review. Is it feels weird, but it's starting to feel good to just have a positive Predator movie to talk about for once.
Yeah. Because I've mentioned it a few times in probably it's Splattercast and the Sunday Scaries, where I more so feel like Predator has become that B franchise. It's not that A-list franchise because they've had so many misses here. I'm hoping this is kind of putting them in that direction to be in the conversation, to kind of bring more eyes onto this franchise, because I think a lot of times this goes overlooked for a general audience because they haven't had any hits lately. Um, so I'm very intrigued to see what a general audience member will think of this film, because the quality is there. I think it is a lot of fun. I think that creature design for the Predator this time is very unique. It's very different.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot to unpack in this film. I mean, we've been here for over 40 minutes, and I feel like we've barely got to anything.
I
Um,
know it's gonna be a Splattercast
yeah,
episode, and we'll be able to
definitely.
go back and go deeper and talk more details as we continue.
So I think there is a lot of conversation to be had on this film. It's really great. It's lovely to jump on Twitter and see so many positive reactions here. I know we've been dropping the spoiler free review in a lot of different conversations, and all those conversations are so positive. I don't really see anything negative about them. Because there isn't a lot of negative stuff in this film. I mean, some of the CGI for me doesn't work a little bit, but again, there's really nothing you can do about that unless you want uh, uh, the actor to actually take on a bear. But
Right?
it's like that stuff I totally forgive. It doesn't take me out of the film in any sense. You're kind of prepared for it. So overall, there isn't really that many negative critiques to this film. I think overall, from beginning to end, Dan Trachtenberg did a phenomenal job. It wasn't just a story to say him coming out saying, I've had this story since 2016. I really want to do it. There's a reason I want to do it. I have a love for this franchise. I believe it after seeing this 100%. Wholeheartedly agree that he had a dog in this fight. He wanted to do this film, and it shines right through from beginning to end. I mean, uh, we watched two films today. They slash them and Prey, and they're very close in runtime. And I'm gonna say Prey feels like a breeze.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
slash
I
them,
watched
it
it
is not.
twice today. I
Yeah.
watched it twice, and both times it just moves. It just goes so
Um,
fast.
Once we get to Tabe's death, I'm always like, what time do we have left? And it's like always 22 minutes. I'm like, we're already at 22 minutes left in this movie because it feels so quick.
Mhm.
So this is a great watch. I watched it twice. Easily gonna watch it a third time within the next week, and I'm excited for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, before the weekend's up, I know I'm gonna throw it on. I might even throw it on before I go to sleep here, just when I get up there, just because it's a breeze. You're right. It's an enjoyable watch. It's an exciting time to be a Predator fan, and it's just one of those things where it's like I'm just happy that this movie exists. I'm happy that it worked out. I enjoy being positive about Predator some more because like I really enjoyed our podcast with on Predator 2.
Yeah,
It's like that was a fun one. I was excited to do it, but I didn't necessarily think that I was going to have as much fun and as much enjoyment as I did. And honestly, this whole week leading into it, rewatching Predators and the first Predator and everything, and just kind of like really sinking myself back into this world and having it pay off in such a big way with Prey is just like it all feels right with the world. Like it just feels like this was what I was missing in 2018 when The Predator came out. Because
yep,
again, anytime one of these movies comes out, I'm gonna run through and I'm gonna watch these movies and get myself psyched up as always. But it's just like to have it pay off and just see the positivity being spread around for this franchise. It's just awesome. I'm excited to see what Dan Trachtenberg does next, whether he, sticks in this world and brings us another film, or like we said, if he sticks on maybe a writing or a producing role, and at least gives us a little bit of a continuation. But I would just say if the guy has any other inkling into another franchise that needs some help or just is stumbling or hasn't had anything in a while, give it to him because I think the man's got passion, and it's great to see.
yep.
The last thought that I'll leave us on, just because I'm wearing the T-shirt right now, is it worked out for Prey. I really hope Halloween Ends can make me feel the same way. But I think that ship has
That's a big
sailed.
ask, my man.
It is, yes. I think that we're talking about totally different levels as far as filmmaking and writing goes. Because yeah, it's like I like David Gordon Green stuff. I like 50/50 and a couple of his other films, but yeah, this has not been great. So,
Yeah,
but hey, we were very cautious about this movie. If you go back to our trailer reviews, we were cautious. Like we
yep,
said we were excited, but we did say I wouldn't be surprised if this movie fucking blows.
yep,
And it's a 5 out of 5. I mean, we don't really do ratings on this show, but like for me, it's a 5 out of 5. Like I
yeah.
enjoy it that much.
I'm there with you.
Yeah, so
You
it's
know,
it's great.
and regardless of what we get in the future, going into trying to say Predator was a viable franchise and like the last real true quality film had been in '87. I started feeling like a liar. So it's like now I can breathe and be like, well, the last hit for Predator was in 2022. So for the
Not too
next 10
bad.
years, I can ride that soapbox of, hey, Predator's a viable franchise no matter what we get after this. So
Yeah.
I'm breathing a little easier tonight.
Oh, 100%. And I'm excited to see the merch coming from this as well. Just because, I'm a NECA guy. I like my stuff. I know you love your NECA Predators. NECA already on top of it, baby. They had two tweets today already. Someone asked them if they were going to be doing Prey merch, and they said, stay tuned. And then they also posted a little thing saying, hey guys, make sure you watch Prey this weekend, and also keep an eye out over the next couple days. So yeah, keep an eye out. I think we're getting an ultimate NECA figure for this Predator, and I am fucking stoked about it.
Yep, I will buy anything they want to throw out at me. So
Yeah,
I'm here
I
for it.
this Predator specifically, like to have him sitting there with the shield next to my Jungle
Yeah.
Hunter, like, oh, I
You
can't
know,
wait for him to be a part of my background.
one last thought, because I had talked about earlier when we had done the spoiler-free review, and I was like, I don't know how to almost give the attributes to this one yet. Where I had said, Predator 2 is a little bit clumsy. I feel like the Jungle Predator is kind of like the ultimate hunter. He's kind of
Hmm.
firing all
Well
cylinders.
rounded. Hmm.
Yes. Honestly, this one to me, after watching the second viewing, really feels like a brute, where he's just like instead of
Savage. He's a
yep,
savage. Yeah.
instead of throwing jabs, he's just gonna he's going to take your head off. You know what I mean? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
what he's there for. So he really feels like that type of you don't want to mess with him. He's coming in to rip your throat out.
100%. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap us up here for our spoiler review on Predator. We had talked for just about 50 minutes here about the film, how much we loved, and I know we could talk another couple hours. So this is definitely going to be ending up on the podcast at some point down the road. I think they've already teased that there's going to be a physical release for this, which would be nice. I don't see why they wouldn't play up on that. I hope for a 4K.
Yep.
Just because again the movie is breathtaking and I think that it deserves it.
I hope we get a
Um,
bunch of extras too. I mean, please
yes.
give
Oh,
me
yeah. I'd
something.
love to see some behind the scenes on this. Yeah, and just really, I want, if I could get a 2 hour documentary, that'd be
Oh,
great. But I know that's a lot to ask nowadays when it
nowadays,
comes to
yep.
special features. But anyway, yeah, you guys can find us on Twitter at Splattercast Pod, where you can keep up with us. We're always chatting it up a storm on there, keeping things pretty up to date with any news, anything coming out, and just general conversations about horror movies. We like to keep it going. You can also find both our shows, Sunday Scaries and Splattercast, on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and Stitcher, and anywhere else where your podcasts can be found. Also, you can drop a comment down below if you guys have any comments or any concerns, anything you want to bring up to us that we can improve on. We are always looking to improve. And yeah, if you guys just want to talk Prey or anything about the film, feel free to let us know what you thought. If there's anything you didn't like, you feel like we're talking out of our ass a little bit, please let us know because I'm curious. Because again, it's mostly been positive on here,
You'll be
but
instantly blocked if there's any praise slander. We're
yeah, no
done.
praise slander in the comments. But yeah, if you guys want to do that, and then also you can just do us a favor if you feel we deserve it, you feel like we're entertaining you enough, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we are pumping out content left and right, and we're not planning on stopping this train anytime soon.
We're
So
staying up late, getting up early.
absolutely, this was true commitment. I had people at work today be like, "Damn, you look tired," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch the new Predator movie so I could review it for my podcast." So
Hey,
commitment.
at least it was good. Could
That's
you
right.
imagine
I would have been really upset if it was bad.
what if we had to get up at 3 a.m. to watch they/them?
Oh fuck, that would have been rough. But yeah, that's also by the time this is posted, we also have that review up. So check out our they that slash them review. You just want to hear the opposite side of a coin where we're not gushing about something.
There we go.
Um, but
Straight
anyway,
gaming.
guys, that about wraps us up here. So take it easy.